Kath. How are you?
Hi,
Thank you
I'm good,
for
thank you.
joining.
I'm good.
Thank you for being a guest. Everyone, this is Kath Harrison from VA Assistant. She's a virtual assistant. And we're going to run through the Pally Talk Talks 3 to 1. So I'll ask you three questions and then you can
Okay,
do one at the end to wrap up the interview. But no, welcome. Thank you for being here.
it's okay. It's a pleasure.
So let's start with the first question. What made you transition from an EA to a freelance VA? Could you talk us through sort of what you were doing before and then the trigger that made you want to move and then the process you went through, including your branding? We want to know about your branding.
Yeah, okay, right. Well, I will always say that, it was the only good thing to come out of COVID was the fact that it forced me into doing what I've done because I was working for a company at the time as an EA, and that is what I've always done. I left school at 15. I started on a YTS doing business studies. Um, and it was, you know, £23.50 a week, I think, when I first started, going up to £37.50 in the second year. I was loaded. I know, that's scary. I left school, went straight into doing that. And like I say, I was one of the youngest in the year. I was 15, so I never went to university. And this is one of the issues now with a lot of jobs that people suddenly want bachelor's degrees. I won't go up down that route. One of my pet peeves. But I now have 35 years industry experience of working as a secretary, as what we were called back then PAs, EA, working for various different levels of people, kind of working up, as we do, we kind of as we progress, we tend to work for more senior people. And so I was working for a company local to me. I'm actually based in Derbyshire. But they got taken over by a large American corporation, just probably it was 2008, 2018, 19, and we're kind of going through it. Then they started doing like a bit of reorganization. And out of that came, some cost cutting stuff. We were kind of duplication of staff in different areas. I'd only been with them about 12 months. And so it was one of these lasting, first out things. I got made redundant in the February of 2019, sorry,
Yeah.
2020. And ordinarily, no problem. I applied for jobs. I'd got a new job lined up working for the HR director at Derby University. And I was about to start that in the April. And as we know, 2020, everybody was told we'd got to go and work from home. I contacted, the employer I was supposed to be starting work for, a month or so down the line. And um, they said, well, we really don't know how long this is going to go on for. So, and it was a university as well. So they were one of the first kind of people, the schools. And they basically said, well, we can't expect you to kind of sit around waiting for us. We can't start you in the role yet. If you're available when this is all over, however long it may be, the job's still yours. But of course, I'd got a mortgage to pay. And I thought, right, okay, so what do I do? I know I'll contact some agencies. And of course, agencies still no different because no one was and taking anybody on because everybody was sent home. And so it was basically out of necessity that I had to do something to earn some money. So I thought I'm just going to have to. It was actually my partner who said to me, "Why don't you start your own business?" And I'm like, "I can't." I was 49. I'd always been employed. It was like I wouldn't even know where to start, but I did because I had to. So that is what I did, and I started built my own website because I've not got any money to pay anybody to do it. It's still the website I use now. My branding, which I know you've just mentioned as well. Um, I didn't want to use my name because the idea was that I thought, well, I don't know. I just didn't want to use my name because it's one of these things that, as an employee, you still have that kind of mindset of not wanting to be, I don't know, kind of I didn't want it to be all about me, you know what I mean? And I didn't want
Yeah.
my name to be all over everything. It was a bit, I don't know, it just felt a bit kind of I don't know, it just felt it wasn't something I was comfortable with. And also I thought if ever I grow and I've got a team of people, it's very difficult just having my name behind it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted something that kind of related to just really to the whole ethic of working and working behind the scenes, but making something good for example, the bee thing was like the queen, all those workers, they do everything, they're all working behind the scenes, and the queen is the one who, is the most important person in that kind of that whole thing, and all those workers behind it. And also, you know, what the end product is, as in honey. It's like, honey, money. It's like it all kind of, that's a bit of the tagline. One of the taglines that I use is, about me kind of making the honey for you
Yeah.
to get the money. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So it was all around that. And also, we all know that nobody on this earth can live without bees. So, it was like, I am essential to life. Not that that's braggy at all, but so I went down that route. So, and obviously B, I kind of wanted B in it. I wanted assisted. My partner knew a graphic designer. He made the logo for me, and so yeah, so that's how I kind of got to it. And I quite like it now because I know there's a lot of people with the same similar kind of names,
Yeah.
because they were very popular. I get the amount of stuff I get bought me with bees on is because it's everywhere. I've got cups, I've got t-shirts,
Oh, I love it.
I've got earrings, I've got Pandora charms, I've got everything. It's like, oh, it's a big, things on my desk. I've got, oh, just all sorts. I've got notebooks, and you probably couldn't see that, phone cases, but it's one of those things that you do see everywhere. So it's one of those, it's always, they always say with your branding, it's like it's good to be recognized.
Yeah, it's
I
such
know
a
when I've been to events, people will say, "Oh, you're the bee lady, aren't you?"
yeah, it's really
So the
good.
people recognize you. Yeah,
Yeah,
people do recognize you through your branding, and I do tend to, when I do go to events, I do tend to kind of stick with my brand colors. I perhaps wear something that color or something like that, and so it is kind of something that I think is just really important to have some kind of branding that people can relate to,
yeah.
and recognize you from. So yeah,
No, it definitely. I think the reason when we first connected was potentially because of the branding. It could have even been on uh it would have been on LinkedIn, but it could have been. There's things like that, like your logo, that you would just catch someone's eye, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's
yeah,
interesting." Even if they're not looking for an assistant, but they're just looking on LinkedIn or on social media, it does catch the
exactly.
eye. It does
Yeah,
definitely. I think the personalization of the brand is so important, because actually, if people see your brand, they know you're going to be like charismatic, friendly, and it
yeah,
sort of draws you in. Whereas if you had just sort of your name and I don't know, like a pen emoji underneath, like that,
yeah.
it would have a totally different feel. Yeah, I think it's really good,
I
and
think
it's
it
really
is. And it's
you.
also a bit like you've just asked me. It's a really good talking point.
Yeah,
Go to networking meetings. And as a VA, we obviously go in these places by ourselves. And that was a big thing,
yeah,
when you've never done it before, because I've never had to. I've always been an employee. Now I'm having to go and talk about my business. And it's something people can ask you. It's a conversation starter and things like that. So I think it has been really, it's been really good in that respect. And
yeah,
also, I've kind of, it's, I have had a few clients who have also been um, kind of be fanatics, or they've kind of made an end product of something. Because I worked with somebody once who they imported and exported honey, and so just to have that kind of, and I know there's some networking groups as well with the bee kind of logo, and I think it is always something that if I do spot somebody, it's that's after a VA, and it's relatable in any way, you can kind of go in on that level, and it's always a bit of a plus, I think. But yeah, I just really I do really like, I'm a real kind of save the bees kind of person anyway. I always was, and so it was just one of those things that um just kind of
It just stuck.
it just stuck, and
Yeah.
it's just developed, and now like I say, I've just got bees everywhere. I can't get away from them.
I think it's so
Yeah,
cool. I've actually got a some dinner plates and mugs with bees on it.
bees
And
on. Yeah,
for no, I don't know why, but I
I
think I
know.
was given them by my mum and she found them on a market because they, you get sort of the matching sets. But yeah, I love it. And actually, yeah,
Yeah,
everyone sort of loves a bee in it. Everyone knows like a bee in a, yeah, I just think,
exactly. Yeah, and I've been on like some beekeeping experiences and learned how to look after them and things like that, and then I can put all that on my website. Yeah, I mean, I went to the Warner's Gin. I like a gin. I like going on distillery tours. Went to a Warner's Gin distillery, and they do like a nature tour now. And that is, you can go and learn about how they look after the bees and stuff like that. And
yeah,
so it was like it's something then that then I can use that on my socials. It's relatable, but it's also a general another point of interest that's not about VA office
yeah,
work that people kind of think,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
yeah.
Because
So
it's
it's
hard
just a bit more add interest. So yeah, but there's all
exactly.
sorts of things like that.
It's hard creating content if you're sitting
Oh, I know, I have a
it can
nightmare.
be like
Yeah,
selfies, like, hey, I'm working again, and
yeah,
everyone's like, don't care.
I know.
But anyway, let's go to the question number
Anyway,
two. But yeah,
okay,
love the bees. But question number two, what is the best advice you'd give someone thinking about making the move to being a freelance assistant?
yeah. Um, right. I think, I mean, I I see quite a few people, especially recently, because I think the job market for EAs at the moment, I see so many people, like on Pally Talk, we've got the groups, and there are so many people kind of in the throes of looking for EA positions and things like that. I just get the feeling that there's a lot of people out there who can't find roles. Or there's just not the roles out there. Now, people will say that the VA market is oversaturated and there's hundreds of us, but it's it, it's it's we all do different things, which are why I think it's really important not to just market yourself as like a virtual assistant, because
Yeah.
what do? You've got to kind of be a bit more. So um, I think people worry that they've not got transferable skills to be a VA. Oh, okay, I've just worked in healthcare and this, that, and the other, or I've, just worked in a doctor's reception and this, but there's a lot of transferable skills
Mm.
into being a VA. But there's also different sectors that you can kind of hone in on. If you have worked in the medical field, then kind of target that kind of audience and make that your kind of niche kind of audience. I came in. I've always worked in different corporate settings. I worked at Hewlett Packard for 17 years, and so that's like the IT sector. But then I have worked for other companies, and so working as a kind of EA at that level, you can kind of fit in with whatever. However, since I started, I mean, I'm just coming up in April. It will be 5 years
Mm.
that I've been doing this, and I've really, really now transitioned over more to being like doing the lifestyle clients.
Yeah.
Um, and that's mainly because I kind of started out being a VA and kind of thinking, well, I'm a VA, I've got to do all this because that's what VAs do, and social media and trying to kind of fit that virtual assistant kind of uh, I don't know, job title, I suppose. But then I thought, well, actually, I don't enjoy doing this. This is my own business. Why am I doing
Yeah.
things
Yeah, you've
that I
got
don't?
control.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also, it's like now I kind of you then become known for what it is that who you support. Somebody's asking for a VA to do, like working for private clients and doing life admin and things like that. People will always put my name forward now because I'm not just somebody that does a bit of everything. I tend to try and focus in on doing that kind of work because I absolutely love doing that kind of work,
Yeah.
which is what business is all about. So when you kind of get to a stage where you're kind of thinking, oh, I can't find a job and I'd really love to do it, but I wouldn't know where to start. Well, I didn't know where to start. I'd never done it before. So it's just one of those things. There is so much information online. There is so much information online. There are so many people, like I always say, if you want any advice, just give me a shout. Networking groups, I'll recommend networking groups. Um, you know, um, And there are a lot of VA mentors and trainers, but there's so much information out there for free because people think, oh, I can't afford, I've got no money, I can't pay for, this, like,
Of course.
yeah, courses.
Yeah.
But there's that much information on YouTube and TikTok on how to become a VA and stuff like that. It's actually, I always say, if I can do it, if I could do it, anybody can do it because it's one of those things. You just get used to turning up for work, doing your stuff, coming home, and that was it.
That's
But
it.
now
Yeah. It's a
I've had
change,
to
isn't
I
it?
set it up limited just because well, my partner explained at the time, and I just thought, well, I'll go down the limited route because I think if you've got assets, it it keeps it separate from it keeps the business as a separate to me, so to speak. So it's like the business's money, not my money. So it's one of these things as well that I just thought, right, I need a website apparently. So uh website, somebody building a website, they want, a couple of £1,000. I do know now that there are people who will do it for less than that, but I just sat about and spent, about 3 days sussing it myself, and I was thrilled to bits that I
Yeah.
managed to do it. And there's a massive level of kind of, a, it's achievement and satisfaction that you've actually, kind of done this yourself and accomplished stuff yourself. And I mean, like last year, I did actually win one of the Rising Star Award, the We Are the City Rising Star Award in the EAPA category. And I'm thinking, I've kind of gone from just being a normal employee now to kind of winning awards and getting nominated for awards
Yeah.
in doing what I do every day and what I've done for 30 odd years. But I love the profession. I love what I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. And so, yeah, it is one of those things that you've just got to, there's so much information out there. If you want to kind of go over to being a VA, I just think go for it. What have you
Yeah.
got? You can always go back. And, I've had a couple of wobbly moments myself where I've thought, oh, I'm just going to get a job. Sometimes it's like, oh, especially if you lose a client and you suddenly think, oh, I've got to, so
Yeah.
it's one of the, if you lose a client and it's like, oh, if I worked, I wouldn't have this. But then you think, well, actually, you could because a bit like, I've been in a situation many times in my life where you've just been faced with redundancy and there's nothing you can do and you've got to find another job. And it's the same as losing a client. You've just got to get out there and find another,
Yeah,
which
no,
I
I
know
think
sometimes, it's,
yeah, you're
but yeah,
right. As soon as you've sort of made the move, you're right. Things like setting up a website, there's Squarespace, there's Shopify, there's Wix. You can,
yeah,
like you said, YouTube is incredible. They've got templates. You just stick in your information. You make your, you don't need a logo to necessarily to begin with. You just have a name, and you can start the ball rolling. It's just,
yeah,
I think it's just the dawn. I think it's just the change. Like everything
yeah,
about it's scary, but if you break it down into sort of five simple steps, a brand, website, make a LinkedIn page, and find your first client, then
yeah,
you're sort of on your way, aren't you? And then you do your
yeah,
tax return like 6 months later, let's say. So you're already in the motion, and then it suddenly becomes once you've done it, like you say, it's a massive sense of achievement because you've done it, and then
it is.
you look back and you go, God, I couldn't imagine going into an office every day now and being employed. But that's
Yeah.
super interesting. Thank you. But let's go on to number three. You mentioned earlier that you are deaf aware. Can you tell us about this and how you've changed your working skills for the deaf client that you have?
Yeah, well, like I say, I think deaf awareness is a massive thing for me because obviously on a personal level, my eldest son is deaf, and he, he's faced quite a few challenges, which shouldn't really be challenges, just because of people just being aware on how to communicate, and it doesn't take much, just like the face to face. Like I say, I have got an elderly deaf client, who I couldn't do this with. It's very difficult. Obviously it depends how deaf people are as well. But um, with him, the client, everything is literally done through. We use WhatsApp and emails, and so a phone call is out the question. A voice note is out the question. So it's just being aware. There's a lot of other people as well who just prefer voice notes. They don't want to read. Maybe they're like dyslexia, things like that. They probably don't want to type things because they can't spell that well, so they prefer voice notes. there is a lot of adapting to, I always say to new clients, I'll always adapt to however they want to communicate. Some
Yeah.
don't like, I was saying earlier, some don't like voice notes at all. And it's like, oh, don't voice note me, just type it. But voice note can be brilliant for just the speed sometimes and just getting something across or just asking a quick question. Or I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to type it all out, but it is one of those things that, we type all day, we can get WhatsApp on a laptop. So it's, not necessarily sitting typing it into your phone, which is sometimes where the annoyance comes because it's not quite as
Yeah.
easy and not quite as quick to do as
WhatsApp
sitting
on
on.
your desktop is an absolute game changer, isn't
It's
it?
brilliant, I know, because I can screenshot things, when I'm
Yeah.
on websites, or I know you can do on your phone,
Makes
but
longer.
WhatsApp on the screen is brilliant. But WhatsApp, I know, that it has its place really. A lot of places use Teams or Slack or the Gmail chat kind of option. But yeah, it is very dependent on what your client kind of wants to use, and what they prefer. But with regard to like the deaf awareness side, I think just being just kind of being aware that accents are a massive thing with deaf people. Face to face, if you are going to be, it's very difficult here because there'll be a delay in what we're saying. So it's it's really difficult. I know that from my son's point of view. If we have to do anything like this, I'll have to basically tell them what he's just said, even though he wears cochlear implants. Some people don't have cochlear implants, especially the older generation. So only perhaps the younger generation that have the cochlear implants. A lot of the older ones perhaps don't want them. So yeah, it is very much a case of adapting the communication needs, whether that just be voice notes or actually typing things, depending on the fact that they might be sight impaired. So it'll all be verbal. So yeah, being familiar with the client's needs. But again, this all comes from, which I want to think is one of the massive things with, especially working virtually, communication. Communication is the massive thing. When you're in an office, somebody will just walk past and say, are you on with, can you just do that? Yeah, I'm doing it. What I've found, people don't like is they ask you to do something, like I sit and doing it, and they're thinking, I wonder if she's seen that. I wonder if she's actually doing it. Has she started it? So I do think a real good two-way communication is really important when we work virtually. And just to have that kind of, even just a thumbs up on a WhatsApp
Yeah.
message to say, seen that, I'm on it, that kind of thing. It's
That's
just something that is really important, communication, working in a virtual kind of
yeah.
world.
It's super interesting that because I think potentially client assistant virtual relationships could break down just because of the
Oh yeah,
communication. And you think, are they doing it? Are they doing it? Especially if you're sending it at sort of, if you're the employer and you're sending something that's just come to your mind at 9 p.m. at night and you
yeah,
don't hear anything from till the next afternoon, you're a bit like, are they doing it? I can see why
yeah,
that can cause an issue. And then the assistant at the receiving end is like, yeah, it's done. Like
yeah,
I'm sending it across to you in 5 minutes. And it's one of those, there's so much,
exactly.
it's just communication. It's like having a
Yeah,
relationship with someone.
it
You have
is.
to, you have to
It
talk
is.
to each other. You have to tell them, oh, I'm out this morning. I've got a doctor's appointment. I'll be back at my desk at 12. Just
Yeah,
tell them where you are. I'm collecting the kids from school. I'll be back at 7 or whatever.
yeah.
Just keep the
It's like my clients
communication
today.
going.
I've said, I'm on a Zoom call at 11. So,
Yeah.
because it is sod's law that somebody phones the minute
Yeah.
I get on.
Yeah.
And it's normally something really urgent. And then he's like, well, why didn't you tell me? And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
yeah. So I do now, even the littlest things, even though I think, even if I've just got to nip down to the post office because I want to
Yeah.
post something, I'm just nipping away from my desk. But, I will be. And I know it's not a micromanagement thing, and I'm virtual and I've got my own business and this, that, and the other. But I very much do work, and the clients get used to the style of the fact I am more or less here every day. It is my job.
Yeah.
I don't, it's not something that I just do in the evenings because some people do. But
Yeah.
so long as your clients know that's when you're working and
Yeah.
that's when you do it, then all's good, and it is one of these things. And it's another thing about letting clients know, and well, making, well, they should know, but making them aware that, we work for a few different clients. I am not
Mm.
always going to be immediately available to look at an email the minute it comes in because I might be doing this. I might be on another call with another client. But it's having that kind of making sure that, from the offset, the whole kind of the expectations are set as to how you deal with things, and what your kind of turnaround times are and things like that. So
Yeah.
again, patient. And I just think it's a massive thing with working virtually, even when you're an employee. I worked for Hewlett Packard. I worked for them for 17 years. And for 10 of those, it was working from home. So this was before, the fact that we had COVID, and then suddenly home working was a big thing. I'm talking about from the year 2000 to 2017. For the last 10 years of that, I worked from home for them because we had a global team. There wasn't any point me going into an office in
Yeah.
Derby because none of my team were there. What difference did it make? So we all worked virtually. So again, you kind of learn that, communicate. We used to have a little Microsoft communicator, it was called, in the corner of the screen back in the day, like Skype. And, and that was just basically the kind of, what time do you need that? It's just that kind of back forth that you used to have. And that's
Yeah.
very much, again, what we need to kind of keep up now is just that whole communication thing, not them sitting there thinking, well, I'm going to have to message her now because I don't even know whether she's got that or whether she's started
Yeah.
it or whether she needs anything
100%.
else from me.
And
And
it's
then
the
that's when the clients start to think, you know what, this is too much like hard work,
yeah.
and
So
it fails, doesn't it? Because they're going to think,
100%, yeah.
I've just done it myself. I've just been, yeah. So,
I know it's a
yeah,
it's a it's a massive thing, and I think it's obviously if you're working for someone who's blind, deaf,
yeah,
and neither of them, the communication across all different clients is
yeah,
just so key, isn't it? Because they have to
yeah,
know what you're doing when you're doing it. But when you said about micromanaging, I think in a way it's more on you than them.
yes,
They need to say, what are you doing today? What's your calendar? When are you going to be working for me? You should be
yeah,
messaging them saying, okay, I've designated, I don't know, 12 p.m. till 4 to run your time. I hope that's okay. And I think you just got to keep it like that. And then managing expectations. If you're not going to be
yeah,
on in the afternoon, just let them know because generally they're fine. And I think if they've got like really urgent things to do, then
yeah.
they've got to say, this is really urgent. Can you just get it done this morning? You'll be like, yeah, sure. I'll rejiggle my day. And
Exactly. And I know,
communication
they
is
do
so
send these
important.
little WhatsApps out of hours. And I know people say, oh, don't reply to them until the next day. But I will reply when I see it, and
Yeah.
and I'll just say, I'll sort it in the morning for
Yeah.
you.
Or
But
just like a thumbs up.
yeah,
Yeah.
thumbs up,
Exactly.
I'll sort it in the morning. And then the
Yeah.
first thing I did, I had one this morning, went in, set a Zoom up, dropped him a
Yeah.
message back, set the call up for you. You should have the email. And then that's it, and it's done. But,
Exactly. And then
I
it's
do very much
true.
agree with, I'm very, people are like, oh, they message me at 9 o'clock at night. Well, you know what? Sometimes it just comes into people's heads
Think,
to do
yeah,
things at nine
I
o'clock at night.
know.
Doesn't mean we have to do it then. And the client, as long as the client knows I'm not going to run down to my computer and do that straight
Yeah.
away, which they know that, but they do know that when I'm back at my computer the next morning, I'll get onto it and do it. And I don't mind the fact, that they've done that. But it's the same thing. It's like on Friday. There's a VA conference on Friday. So I'm going to be out of the office. I'm not going to be sat here doing anything on Friday. So it's just letting them know, I'm not around at all on Friday. So if you need anything doing before the end of the week, you will need to get it to me. And it's the same like you if you were in an office, really,
Yeah, it
making
is,
sure that things are
exactly.
done and
I think
tidied up, and that communication,
it's a really good
massive
one
thing.
to learn for people that are just joining as virtual. If you've gone from fully in the office to virtual, this is like probably the first thing to learn. It's just like
Yeah.
communication. If anything, over message to begin
Over
with.
message.
If they go,
Yeah.
right, I don't need to know when you're having your
Yeah.
lunch, then okay, then you know. But anyway, we could go on about
Yeah.
for hours. But
We could.
that's the three questions. Have you got a final question for me to wrap up the interview?
Um, yeah, I would probably, I mean, when kind of, I didn't know I'd got a question to ask you, but I am obviously intrigued. Pally Talk,
Yeah.
okay. I think it's a fantastic kind of, we've got the WhatsApp channels, we've got you've got the LinkedIn, we've
Yeah.
got the website as well, and obviously the job board and things like that. What inspired you to kind of start that um, in the
The
early days?
the main thing for the inspiration was the flexible working options. It was really
Yeah,
I went from being an EA full time to a VA, then got pregnant and realized when you're pregnant or when you have kids, the flexibility around your job is so important. And that sort of triggered the idea to offer to get women for one, and to get a jobs board that offers just flexible working options so people could get hybrid,
Yeah,
remote, virtual, part-time, whatever they wanted that wasn't fully on site. And then with the jobs board grew the community, the website, the LinkedIn, and then now it's as a whole. But the idea originally was just the importance of the flexible working options jobs board. And then the community was more of like the contact sharing. You know, when you enter the industry and someone asks you, can you get me a driver in Timbuktu? And you're like, how am I meant to find a car in the middle of nowhere? And it's the thing that you ask another assistant and they'll go, well, try these guys.
mm,
Like for example, our partner, try Rolzo. And you'd be like, oh my God, suddenly you get that connection. And I think in the olden days, as I call it the olden days, there was a much closed book sort of thing with secretaries and assistants, and they'd have their book of contacts, and it'd be sort of their selling point. If you had hired me and I have 1,500
yeah,
contacts, I can, do you know what I mean? And I wanted
yeah,
to open up that book of communication so people returning mums could enter the industry if they wanted, just to do a part-time VA job at home, and really just create a bubble where we could all support each other and not feel so lonely in everyone's roles. So
yeah,
it started as an idea that's sort of grown into more, let's say. And yeah, it's just been amazing. It's been an amazing journey because people have enjoyed it so much. I think mainly just because a lot of people do feel alone especially when they're job hunting, or when they're becoming a
yeah,
VA and they're at home and they're like, where do I start? Or they're in a role in a company and they don't have a team around them, so they turn to Paddy Talk. But yeah, it's been amazing. Yeah, it's been an
yeah.
amazing growth. But no, I've loved it, and thank you for being part of it.
No, well, I loved it. And like I say, I think it's fantastic. And just having that little community there,
Mm,
I mean, even this morning, there was a lady on there, wasn't
yeah.
there? And she was worried if she went for an interview and she got a job and she shared it with everybody. And
Yeah,
everybody is lovely. And, it's just having that something you know, people to share that kind of, that
yeah,
kind of side of things with.
yeah,
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's people on there, we go the other extent, but then on the same note, then everybody supports them, if people have bad news. But when people have good news, there's people there to celebrate with. And
yeah,
I just think the opportunities on there as well, that kind of come up have been brilliant, that I've seen. But
mm.
thank you for doing what you've done and what you do. So yeah, it's been
Not
great.
at all. Thank you for being part of it. If I can get more jobs on that jobs board, that's our like new mission. It's just get people back into work. I'm so sort of sad of talking to people that are being made redundant from careers. A lady last week, she'd been in the role for 12 years and got made redundant, and it just sort of breaks my
Mm.
heart. And then they're feeling sort of on their own, and so if
They
anything,
do, and it's really difficult then to even just to
so
go to another
difficult.
employer, but to even think about going into business by
Yeah,
yourself, especially, there was a lady the other day that was similar to my age when I started, and I said, look,
yeah,
I started mine at 49, and it's doable. I think you just
yeah,
think, oh, I'm too old to kind of go down that route. I don't know what to do, but
yeah,
it's like I say, there's so much information out there. And again, on these kind of networks like you've got with Paddy Talk, there's people who say, no, message me, I'll help you. If
yeah,
if you want to try,
100%.
let me
And
know,
also,
what you need help with, or just, even just to have a chat and for me to talk through
yeah,
what I did, and just gives people a bit more kind of, just a bit more of a community. And I think it's
yeah,
lovely, and I think it's really important, especially when you are virtual,
yeah,
because we've not got the coffee machine to stand round in the office to just have a
yeah.
chin wag. You can. So
I
no, it is.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So thank
it is.
you.
I think hearing sort of your success stories, hearing the lady today who got a job, it's just like a nice, I mean, you are down in the dumps, just hearing, all you need to do is hear a success story and you're like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah,
I can get a
yeah,
job. But applying for jobs is hard work, and
it
it's
is.
lonely. So I just think,
Especially, and this is what I say, this is what I mentioned earlier, I literally very briefly touched on about, there's a lot of us EAs who have been doing this job for years and years and years.
yeah, I know.
And a lot of companies now, they immediately stick on a tick box, have you got a bachelor's degree? And you get to that point, and as soon as you click no, and I'm thinking, right, I'm going in the no's on the automated CVs that come in because I've not got a bachelor's degree. However, I've done the job for 35 years. What's more important to them, And I noticed, one of the people I follow on LinkedIn, Lucy Brazier, she had put a post on about exactly the same thing and said, how ridiculous it is that, you know, it's something that a lot of companies now are using as criteria to kind of filter CVs, and it really shouldn't be, because you're eliminating a lot of good candidates.
No, it's a
I
whole new. I can
It
imagine
is,
it's
I
sort
know
of a debate that could go on for hours.
it is, I know.
I,
So I'll shut it up. Yeah, no, it is,
I did,
and especially with people my age who've got that kind of experience, but not
yeah,
the bachelor's
I
degree,
know.
it's really difficult
But
because a lot of them now are going job hunting, and they're kind of hitting brick walls, and they're probably fantastic at their job,
no,
but just
we just
can't tick that
keep
box.
got to keep sharing the jobs that
Yeah,
aren't requesting that, because actually, if an employer is requesting it, then maybe it's not the right
not
employer
the
to
right
go.
job for them in the first place.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, we'll keep doing the good work. And if you hear of any sort of people looking for freelance assistance, do use the jobs board, etc., and we'll sort of get people
I
get.
will. I will. Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, I will do. But thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for that.
Thank you.